In the heart of the Maasai Mara, where the earth pulses with the rhythm of ancient life, a young warrior named Lemayian stood on the precipice of destiny. His people, the Maasai, were facing a time of unprecedented hardship. A severe drought had turned their vibrant grasslands to dust, forcing rival clans into bitter conflict over dwindling resources. The sacred forest, once a sanctuary of life, was slowly dying, its leaves turning a sickly brown, and amidst this turmoil, a new terror emerged. A mysterious lion, powerful and elusive, began to attack the cattle, the very lifeblood of the Maasai. But this was no ordinary predator. It struck with phantom-like speed and vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fear and confusion. The elders, their faces etched with the wisdom of generations, gathered around the flickering fire. Their whispers carried a name spoken with a mix of reverence and dread: Ultmaru, the red lion of the ancestors. According to legend, Ultmaru was not a creature of flesh and blood, but a guardian spirit, a manifestation of the land's will. It was said that Ultmaru only appeared when the sacred balance between humanity, nature, and the spirit world was shattered. Its presence was a dire omen, a warning that the very soul of their land was in peril. The elders looked at the parched earth, the conflict between brothers, and the dying forest, and they knew the balance was broken. A ceremony was held under the vast, star-strewn African sky. The air was thick with the scent of sacred herbs and the low hum of traditional chants. All eyes turned to Lemayian. Young, strong, and with a spirit as untamed as the plains themselves, he was chosen for a sacred task. He was to track the spirit lion, to follow its path, and to understand its message. The weight of his people's future settled upon his shoulders as the elders blessed him, marking his forehead with sacred ochre. His journey was not merely a hunt, it was a pilgrimage, a quest to heal a wounded world. Armed with his spear and an unshakable resolve, Lemayian set out at dawn. The plains stretched before him, a canvas of gold and shadow. He followed the phantom tracks, prints that seemed to appear and disappear in the dust. The trail was unlike any he had ever seen, leading him through familiar territories that now felt alien and unsettling. As he walked, the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds began to blur. The sun beat down, and the heat warped the air, creating shimmering mirages on the horizon. But what Lemayian started to see was more than just tricks of the light. He began to experience powerful waking visions. One moment, he would see his ancestors, their spectral figures standing proud upon the plains, their eyes filled with sorrow and warning. They spoke to him not in words, but in feelings, in images of a land that was once whole and harmonious. They showed him the life-giving rivers that now ran dry, and the great herds that once roamed freely. Another vision plunged him into a whirlwind of whispers, voices of his own people laced with deceit and betrayal. He saw shadows moving in the dark, hands exchanging secret tokens, and plans being hatched away from the council fire. The visions were confusing, fragmented, and terrifying. They hinted at a hidden truth, a darkness festering within his own community. The lions, attacks, the drought, the conflict, were they all connected? As he pushed deeper into the wilderness, following the spectral lion's path, he stumbled upon evidence that chilled him to the bone. He found signs of illegal logging in the sacred forest, trees felled not by disease but by axes. He discovered traps and snares not for predators, but for the last remaining wildlife, their parts destined for a black market he never knew existed, and he found a hidden source of pollution, a strange oily substance seeping into one of the last remaining waterholes, poisoning it from within. The truth began to dawn on him, a truth far more terrifying than a Spitarian. Someone among his own people was systematically destroying the land, exploiting its resources for personal gain. This was not the work of a spirit. It was the work of human greed. The so-called spirit lion Olmaru was not the cause of the chaos, but a symptom of it. It was the land itself crying out in pain. This realization shifted Lemayian's quest entirely. His mission was no longer just to find a lion. It was to unmask a traitor. He knew he had to be careful. The person responsible was clever and ruthless, hiding behind tradition and fear. Accusations without proof would only divide his people further. Lemayian started to use his skills as a warrior, not for a hunt, but for an investigation. He observed the movements of his fellow clansmen, listened to conversations around the campfires, and pieced together the clues the land and his visions had given him. He noticed a wealthy elder who had recently acquired new cattle, despite the drought. He saw a group of younger warriors who frequently disappeared for days at a time, returning with unexplained wealth. His investigation led him to a secluded canyon at the edge of their territory, a place avoided due to old superstitions. Following a faint, smoky scent, he discovered a hidden camp. There he saw it all. Piles of freshly cut timber from the sacred forest, animal pelts, and barrels of the same toxic substance that was poisoning the water. And in the center of it all, orchestrating the operation, was a man he had trusted. It was one of the clan's most respected sub-chiefs, a man who spoke loudly of tradition and honor in the council, but who secretly sold their heritage to outsiders for profit. He was the one creating the chaos, fueling the conflict between clans to distract them from his crimes. The confrontation was inevitable. Lemayian returned to his village, his heart heavy with the burden of this betrayal. He waited for the next gathering of the elders and, with the courage of a true warrior, he presented his evidence. He spoke of the felled trees, the poisoned water, and the hidden camp. The sub-chief denied everything, his voice booming with false indignation. He accused Lemayian of madness, of being cursed by the spirit lion. The people were divided, unsure of who to believe. The tension was so thick, it felt like the air before a thunderstorm. Just as chaos was about to erupt, a mighty roar echoed across the plains, silencing everyone. All heads turned toward the edge of the village. There, standing on a rocky outcrop, silhouetted against the setting sun, was a magnificent lion. It was larger than any they had ever seen, its mane a fiery red, seeming to burn in the twilight. It was Oru, but its eyes were not filled with menace. They were filled with a deep, ancient sadness. It let out one more resounding roar, a sound that was not a threat, but a judgment. Then, as mysteriously as it appeared, it turned and dissolved into the evening haze. In the stunned silence that followed, the traitor's composure finally broke. The sight of the red lion, the very legend he had used to mask his crimes, had shattered his deception. His guilt was plain for all to see. Justice was swift. The traitor was exiled, and his collaborators were tasked with replanting the sacred forest and cleaning the poisoned waterhole. With the source of the corruption removed, a sense of hope began to return. That very night, the skies opened up, and the first rains in months fell upon the thirsty land. It was as if the land itself was weeping with relief. Lemayian was hailed as a hero. He had faced the darkness, both from without and within, and restored the balance. He had learned that the greatest threats often come not from spirits or beasts, but from the darkness in the human heart. As he looked out over the greening plains, he often wondered about the red lion. Was it a real spirit, a guardian sent by the ancestors, or was it a manifestation of his own courage, a test of his spirit? He may never know for sure, but he understood its message. The roar of the lion was the voice of the land, and it was the duty of its people to listen. And as the new guardian of his people's harmony, Lemayian vowed he would always be listening. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the Maasai Mara, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world. Let us know in the comments what legends you'd like to see us explore next. Until then, stay curious.